Hello guys and welcome to today's video, and in this video we're going to be talking about Invest 99p. There's two Invest in this area. There's 99p and there's 98p. We're going to be primarily focusing on 99p as this can be a decent threat to New Caledonia in the next 3 or 4 days. And I like to keep people ahead of the storm and try to keep them as safe as possible. Anyways, here are the storm particulars. This is at 15.8 south, 165.2 east. Maximum sustained winds are at 15 knots or 20 miles per hour. Minimal center pressure is pretty decent for what it is right now. It's 1,005 millibars. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the infrared here. And you can see that it has a decent mid-level center here. It's definitely got a mid-level center here. And this is it looks like it's trying to dig down into the lower atmosphere to create a low-level center. Obviously, that may take another day or so, maybe 12 to 24 hours. But I do think it'll eventually get there as we head out through time. And I'm going to show you how fast the GFS gets it going and the European gets it going here shortly as we head out through the rest of this update. Here is the GEPS tracks the minimal MSLP. And as you can see, the GEPS takes it to the west of New Caledonia here as a pretty decent, tropical storm, 992 millibars, which is a pretty strong tropical storm. That's not to say if it takes this route that the New Caledonia still isn't going to see any threats, because obviously, it's very, very close enough to give them, tropical storm force winds, flash flooding probably, depending on how fast or slow it's moving. So, either way you slice it, I think New Caledonia is in this for the foreseeable, unless things like really drastically change overnight, which I do not foresee happening here. And as you can see, it peaks out here at 992 millibars, which, like I said, is a very strong tropical storm. All right, so here's the GEFS tracks the minimal MSLP, and you can see why the GEFS is always so excited about systems, because you can hardly see New Caledonia on this map. It's just covered with ensemble members here. As you see, this gets down as strong as 982 millibars, which is that's like a mid-grade Category 1 cyclone that could hit New Caledonia in the next 3 to 4, 5 days from now. So any way you slice it, whether you're looking at the GEFS or the GEPS, you could be seeing some nasty weather in New Caledonia, whether it'll be small, a little bit of storm surge, some strong gusty winds, flash flooding, everything that comes with a cyclone of this nature if the GFS gets its way. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the sea surface temperatures here, and you can see that we have some pretty decent, hot waters here. You're looking at 31, 30s, 29s in the sorts near New Caledonia here. So these waters are definitely warm enough to sustain a Category 1 or higher cyclone like the GEPS is showing. We're going to have to see how everything else plays out, whether the wind shear is good. What are we looking at in terms of, the relative humidity and stuff like that, which we'll take a look at here right now, actually. All right, so here is the GFS. This was initialized at 18Z today, and you can see this is our system right here, 1,007. And as you see here, 30 hours out, we're at 1,002 millibars, and the system is still kind of sloppy here at this point. 11 knots of shear and 92% relative humidity, which is pretty go here for the system as we head out through time. And in 48 hours, as you see, it really gets going here, 993 millibars. We're looking at 11 knots of shear still and 86% relative humidity, which is all still pretty healthy for the system going forward. 72 hours, 980 millibars. That's a strong Category 1 cyclone there. 22 knots of shear, which is not so good for the system, and 82% relative humidity. And as you can see, it makes landfall in New Caledonia here at 982 millibars. So GFS wants a landfall of the system 23 knots of shear, 81% relative humidity. So we're going to go on through. It stays about 982, 980, 980. This is 90 hours out. What are we looking at here? 21 knots and 76% relative humidity. So it's not, it's not getting favorable. But as you can see, here at 102 hours, it peaks at 977 millibars, which is a Category 2 cyclone. 19 knots of shear and 72% relative humidity. The relative humidity is pretty good, but the shear is not so much. So once we get to the 120-hour mark, well, there you go. Now we got another system to probably watch here, which we'll talk about that when the time comes, if that comes to fruition. Anyways, that could be 98p. I could be wrong. We're gonna have to pay attention to this too at a later date. Anyways. 980, that will net us 40 knots of shear and 72% relative humidity. So the shear is kind of screwed here. So that may be the end of its time as it transitions into an extratropical cyclone at that point after the 5-day mark. So we're just going to have to see how it all pans out from there. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the ECNWF, or the European, and you can see here 24 hours out, 1006. Doesn't really start to go until 48-hour mark, which we're at 1,000 right now. So we're looking at 12 knots of shear, but the relative humidity is kind of mediocre at best, 69%. But you can see that it starts to strengthen as we get to the 3-day mark. 32 knots of shear and 61% relative humidity. I don't know how this is strengthening in that, but it is. 96 hours, we're at 988 millibars. Now we got no wind shear. I've almost never seen that ever, no wind shear whatsoever. But the relative humidity is 59%. So this run might be bugged. I'm not too sure. But as you can see, it doesn't quite make landfall, I don't think. But it's still close enough to bring some significant impacts to New Caledonia as we head out through the next 3 to 5 days. And then after that, kind of just does its own thing. This is not very good shear relative humidity. And then after that, it just, it moves away. So with that, I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this. I'm going to have daily updates for you guys on the system to keep you guys ahead of the storm. That's what I like to do. Make sure that you guys are safe and that you guys are watching on the other side of the screen once the storm passes through. Anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys have a good day and stay safe. Get your preparations in order. Obviously there's not a whole lot of places you can go, but hunker down, do the best that you can to stay safe. Anyways, thank you guys and have a nice day.